My name is Marie. The air in the glass-walled conference room on the 42nd floor of the downtown high-rise was cold, making me shiver slightly. The red light on the security camera in the corner of the ceiling blinked menacingly. I sat across the mahogany table, my hands folded on the closed red folder. My biological family stepped out of the elevator, dressed in black as if they were truly mourning the uncle they had ignored for so long. My mother, Diana, led the way with her chin held high, her eyes hungry as she surveyed the opulent office. My father, George, shuffled behind her, looking nervous yet eager. My sister, Lily, brought up the rear, complaining about the valet parking price while checking her reflection in the glass. They saw me sitting there, but didn't recognize the threat. They only saw the scared 14-year-old they discarded. Diana breezed past me without a word, dropping her designer bag on the table with a thud. "Let's get this over with. We have lunch reservations," she said to my lawyer. To her, I was just a signature between her and the $13 million inheritance. My lawyer, Ava, slid a document across the table. Standard kinship verification affidavit. Since the will is being contested, the executor needs a sworn statement that you maintained a continuous parental relationship with the beneficiary from 2011 to today. Sign it, and the funds can be released. Their lawyer, Mr. Finch, a man in a cheap, sweaty suit but not entirely stupid, read the fine print and stopped at paragraph 4. This defines continuous care as uninterrupted financial and emotional support, he muttered. Diana, you told me she ran away. If you sign, you're swearing under penalty of perjury that she was in your care the whole time. He started to pull the paper back. We shouldn't sign this. We need to change the language. But Diana's eyes were fixed on the $13 million on the whiteboard. Greed overcame her better judgment. She snatched the pen. Stop billing me by the hour, Finch. Of course, we raised her. She's my daughter. Don't make this complicated. She stared at me. You know the truth, Marie. We did everything for you. I said nothing, just watched as she signed with a flourish and pushed the affidavit to George. Sign it. George hesitated, glanced at Finch's pale face, but then signed. In that moment, the room's atmosphere changed. They thought they'd secured a fortune, but they didn't realize they'd just signed a confession. Now give us our money, Diana said smugly, pushing the affidavit towards me. We'll get to the money, I said, placing my hand on the red folder. First, let's review the receipts. I opened the red folder and took out an old-fashioned external disk drive. I plugged it into my laptop, connected it to the projector, and typed in the password. What are you doing? George's voice wavered. Where's the check? I didn't look up. Uncle Henry kept old tech for old sins. The screen flickered to life, showing grainy black and white security footage from December 25, 2011, 7:15 p.m. It was a snowy porch, and there was a younger Diana with a clipboard in hand and a small figure beside a suitcase, me. Diana pushed the clipboard at the child, who signed. Then Diana pointed to the driveway and slammed the door. The child walked into the snow. Turn that off. This is private. Diana, shut up. Sit down. I'm not finished, I said firmly. I placed a cashed check beside the affidavit. Do you recognize this? Your signature is on the back. $500. You told the media you lost me. You said I ran away. But you didn't lose me, Diana. You sold me. Then I laid down a receipt from a local electronics store. It was for a high-end tablet for $198, dated 2 days after the check. You didn't sell me to survive. You sold me for a tablet. Here's the receipt. George made a strangled sound and reached for the papers. Shaking, Mr. Finch slapped his hand over George's wrist, now protecting his own license rather than them. And this affidavit, I tapped their fresh signatures. You just swore you raised me and provided support for 15 years. I dropped a stack of tax returns on the table. For 15 years, you claimed a missing child as a dependent. You collected $190,000 in benefits for a daughter you sold for $500. If you claim you raised me, you'll go to prison for welfare fraud and tax evasion. If you admit you sold me, you lose the inheritance and still go to prison for perjury and false filings. You didn't come to a negotiation. You walked into a crime scene. The silence was deafening, like a trap snapping shut. "We can fix this," Diana stammered. "Marie, baby. I didn't call the police. They're slow. I called the State Department of Human Services fraud unit an hour ago. They're waiting in the lobby." The doors hissed open, and two men and a woman in dark windbreakers with State Fraud Unit in bold yellow letters stepped in. Diana recoiled, the chair screeching. "No, I'm your mother." "My mother died the night she chose a tablet over her daughter," I said calmly. "You're a defendant," the lead agent spoke. "Diana and George, you are under arrest for grand larceny and welfare fraud." Handcuffs clicked. Diana wailed, and George collapsed into silence as they were led out past the blinking camera. Lily, pale and frantic, rushed towards me, grabbing my arm. "Wait, I didn't sign. You can't leave me with nothing." I gently removed her hand. "You got a brand new bike the day I got a snowstorm. Sell it if you're hungry." At the shredder, I fed the store receipt into the blades. The last proof of my price tag became confetti. Then I walked out, down 42 floors and into the cold city air, finally free. It all started when I was 14. Diana, my mother, was always materialistic. She was obsessed with the latest gadgets. One winter day, she blocked the doorway, shoving a clipboard into my chest. "Sign this paper. Uncle Henry is paying $500 for you. That's exactly enough for the tablet I want." I shivered next to my suitcase as she traded me for that piece of electronics. She sneered, "You finally have a purpose, Marie. Buying me something nice." I looked past her at the empty spot on the living room wall where the tablet would go. I didn't cry. I signed the guardianship transfer and walked away, realizing my price was $500. Uncle Henry took me in. He was a tough-minded man, a successful businessman who saw the world as a series of transactions. He didn't give me bedtime stories or hugs. Instead, he taught me hard lessons and cold facts. He'd sit in his library, tapping his lit cigar against a crystal ashtray, and say, "Marie, tears are useless. Emotions are expensive, but receipts are free. Keep them all." I took his advice to heart. While I built a career as a senior compliance officer at a private trust firm, hunting liars by analyzing financial data, my biological parents built a life of lies. They assumed I'd either ended up in the foster system or died on the streets. This made them arrogant. For 15 years, they played the grieving parents on local TV. Every year on the anniversary of that snowstorm, Diana would stand on the porch in black, crying into a news microphone. She'd tell reporters I had a mental breakdown and ran away. They'd accept donations for a fake search fund, use the money to buy new things and renovate their house. But the real crime was in the paperwork. They never removed me from their government filings. For 15 years, they claimed me as a dependent on their tax returns, collecting state welfare benefits, housing assistance, and food stipends. They cashed monthly checks from the government, totaling $190,000. I watched them, biding my time. Every time Diana cried on TV, I saved the video. Every time George filed a fraudulent tax return, I downloaded the public record. I treated their crimes like a savings account, waiting for the right moment. Then, Uncle Henry died on a rainy Wednesday in December. He left me his entire estate, worth $13 million. The will was sealed for 30 days. But my parents' greed knew no bounds. 2 days after the obituary, they hired Mr. Finch and filed a motion to contest the will, claiming I'd manipulated Uncle Henry. They took their act to the media, painting me as a predator and themselves as saints. My lawyer was furious and wanted to fight back immediately, but I remembered Uncle Henry's words. I told my lawyer to call Mr. Finch, pretend to be terrified, and offer a mediation session. They thought they were bullying a scared girl, but they were walking into a trap I'd been setting for 15 years. Now, as I walked out of the building, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I'd finally balanced the books.